communities across our nation.
If you want to, I mean, it's happening.
We are joining the nation across the country to demand healthy homes, healthy schools, and healthy communities. All of us who just literally step foot in this community all smell the air of the climate destruction that Chevron is contributing to. We know that Chevron is contributing $500,000 to the opposition of Prop 15. They just don't want to be taxed because they know that Prop 15 taxes large corporations. Yes on 15! Yes on 15! Yes on 15! And the contributions to the police unions, we have seen that in this pandemic, there is a lightening of policing and police brutality in Black and brown communities and racial injustice. In the wakes of the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, we are calling for the defunding of police. But yet Chevron is contributing to these police unions. Our so-called justice system works for some of us, but for the rest of us, they don't protect us. Who do the police really protect? They don't protect us. They don't protect our communities. They don't care about our education, funding our schools, because they need to be choosing students, not billionaires. It should be schools and communities first. We want to make sure that when we return to school, we have safe and equitable schools for all Black, brown, and indigenous communities. We have working class of parents, educators, and students holding our education systems and government accountable. And we're holding Chevron accountable to pay their fair share. We just attempted a delegation with Chevron. They didn't answer the door, and we tried to deliver them a report card on the grade of what we give them to this community of which they are failing over and over again. And let me be clear, that is an F on all parts. It's an F to climate destruction because this air quality is horrible. It's an F to contributing to police unions that continue to victimize and harass Black and brown communities. It's an F for not paying their fair share of taxes. It's an F for not contributing to safe and equitable schools. It's an F for not choosing the youth for the communities. They're not choosing anybody but themselves. And it's time to hold them accountable. Chevron, you can't hide. We see your greedy side.
Chevron, you can't hide.
We can see your greedy side. Chevron, you can't hide.
We can see your greedy side.
Chevron, you can't hide.
We can see your greedy side.
After causing all of this destruction and trauma, Chevron is still fighting tooth and nail against Proposition 15. They donate, I'm going to say it again, $500,000 to oppose Prop 15, which would make them pay a fair share of taxes to begin to remedy the destruction of our schools and our communities, and for funding our schools and social services. So shame on Chevron, shame on all the big corporations that are lying on Prop 15 because they want to line their own pockets. We need to put schools healthy communities.
Chevron, Chevron, pay your taxes. Chevron, Chevron, pay your taxes. Chevron, Chevron, pay your taxes.
Yes on 15!
Yes on 15.
Yes on 15!
Yes on 15.
Yes on 15!
Yes on 15.
Chevron, Chevron, you can't hide!
We can see your green side.
Chevron, Chevron, you can't hide!
We can see your green side.
Chevron, Chevron, you can't hide!
We can see your green side.
Once again, thank you everyone for coming out today. So we are going to start with... Sorry. Alright, so we are going to start introducing our speakers. Ignore that, okay. Alright, we are going to start by introducing our speakers. And our first speaker coming up is an amazing Afro-Latina, the first woman of color to represent the United Teachers of Los Angeles. She's an activist as well as a community member. So we're going to introduce Cecily Mayar Cruz. I got you.
First, let's give it up for Kalila! I think y'all can do better than that. Give it up for Kalila! All right. Good evening, folks. Good evening. My name is Cecily Mayar Cruz, and I am the president of United Teachers Los Angeles. And on behalf of our 35,000 educators, we want the public to know and to be clear that we want nothing more than to be back in our physical schools with our students, our babies. We miss them, but we've got to keep it real. We're in a pandemic, a health crisis, unlike anything we have seen before, and lives are at stake. Asking teachers to make up for society's shortfalls is nothing new, and it's not right. Besides a national failure of leadership, which was displayed last night, there are two culprits to our current situation: COVID-19 and a lack of funding for our schools, which are racial, social, and economic justice fights. Our schools have lacked adequate funding for decades, while the wealthiest corporations, like this here Chevron, avoid paying their fair share. Our schools have the most crowded classrooms in the nation, and our local communities are struggling to respond to the impact of COVID-19. Chevron has invested over $500,000 to oppose Proposition 15, to skate away from paying over $7.5 million a year in property taxes at this refinery alone. That is the very definition of entitlement, corporate greed, and profits over people. We should not allow the billionaires, the millionaires, the privatizers, and big corporations to continue to avoid paying their fair share of property taxes. They benefit from public schools, public roads, public safety, just like the rest of us. But they use schemes and loopholes to avoid paying for them. This is inexcusable at this present time, or any time for that matter. They also hide behind slogans with phony attempts to align themselves with black and brown communities, the same communities that they are polluting day in and day out. Communities hardest hit with COVID cases because of this disenfranchisement to services that exist. So at what point do we stand up and fight for what is right for all of us? What does that look like nationally or even statewide? Now, our sister union, United Teachers of Richmond, are at the Northern California Chevron doing this exact same thing. That's what you call working together on a statewide coalition. Because we have to call this out. We have to lead with bold actions that send the message to the privatizers, the billionaires, and the corporations that the workers are uniting across sectors to say enough and no more. It looks like fighting on all fronts, asking those sector workers to hold strong in demanding safe schools. We must also demand that the state and the federal government fund us at levels above meager portions. We can't leave this up to the local taxes and state budgets. We've got to demand more, not less. Proposition 15 is that way forward. Corporations think they can hide. We see their greedy side, and we are shining the spotlight on them. We are in a fight for the soul of the state of California and the health of future generations. We have got to continue to show up for our communities, show up for our babies, show up for ourselves. We need to stay in these streets and lift our voices to demand justice. Because this is our moment, y'all. This is our moment to be bold and to actually create the schools that our students deserve. So we need to lift our voices and say yes on Proposition 15. Are y'all with me? Corporations are spending hand over foot money, and we say no more. They need to fund our public schools. They need to fund our communities like our lives depend on it. Because the working class people have been footing the bill for far too long. So I'm asking you to not only stay here, stay connected, but we've got to stay in these streets, whether it be car caravans, press conferences, whatever we need to do. We've got to make sure that we are bringing this message loud and clear.
That's right.
Because we are in this together, and we can only win when we do this work together. Thank you. So now it's my great pleasure. I think they gave her a microphone. It's my great pleasure to bring up the president of our affiliate, our mother affiliate, American Federation of Teachers, 1.7 million members. And we're proud that she is here with her executive officers kicking off her bus tour today. So let's give it up for President Randy Winegarden.
Just put this here so that nobody has to hold it. It is so great to be with all of you. It is a really, really horrible situation when corporations in this country have made billions, not just millions, but billions of dollars during COVID. And you see what the students said about what is going on in not only in schools right now, but because of the lack of resources. 16 million people. I'm going to do this. And then somebody else is going to have to wash the mic because we're always being safe, okay? 16 million students in the United States of America do not have today the equipment or the connectivity they need to be on Zoom or Google Teams. This is in the richest country in the world. 16 million students. Chevron could pay for that in a minute. Millions of students don't have nurses. Betsy DeVos, if she paid taxes on her yacht, would be able to give every single student in Michigan a nurse for their school. And Donald Trump takes as a deduction $70,000 for haircuts. Tell me how many paraprofessionals in LA make $70,000 a year. I'm not even talking about the fact that he didn't pay taxes for 11 out of 18 years. Chevron spends $500,000 to fight Proposition 15 instead of at least donating that money to the school system in LA. Why do I raise all of this? Because it doesn't just feel unfair, it is unfair. It is unfair because what is the through line here? All these people who could pay lots and lots of money in their fair share of taxes, not on every bit of money they make, just pay their fair share of taxes, just pay their fair share of property taxes, just do the things that every single person knows we need to fund schools, and instead they're fighting Proposition 15. Now, why are we here? Fed Ingram, our Secretary Treasurer, Evelyn DeJesus, our Executive Vice President, we talked to Cecily, we talked to Ross LA, we talked to Lane. We decided we were going to start the West Coast to East Coast, East to West, West to East, North to South. I'm a social studies teacher, not a geography teacher. West to East, North to South, getting the vote out. Why are we starting here in LA? Because this fight for ballot initiative 15 is, as Cecily said, the fight for the soul of America. It's a fight for our children in America. It's a fight for our priorities. We need this funding in the federal government. We need a new president to do this. We need a president who's going to pay his or her taxes. But we also need corporations like Chevron to do their fair share. They get lots from this city and this state. They need to invest back into the city and the state. And you know, the fact that they're fighting so hard against it is because they don't care about our kids. And we have to make sure that they care about our kids. And the way to do it, just like Lane does all the time, just like Ross LA does all the time, just like you did in the UTLA teacher strike this year, is to be on the streets, to take it to the public, to explain to people what the stakes are, because at the end of the day, LA and California will vote for kids if they know the stakes. That's why we started here, because the stakes are so high on a local, a state, and a national level. We need to make sure that kids come first. That kids get the schools they deserve, and particularly kids who are black and brown and who have been hurt so many decades. That is our obligation. Not only their obligation, but all of our obligations. And that is why we started the Get Out the Vote bus tour in LA today for Proposition 15. Thank you.
All right.
Big shouts out to union members nationwide. Appreciate your activism.
Can you guys hear me?
All right.
Am I still live?
We're going to move on to our next speaker, who is a parent from ACE. Let's give it up for Alicia.
Good evening, everybody. I'm proud to be here today. My name is Alicia Balthazar, and I'm a proud member of Reclaim Our Schools Los Angeles. And as a parent of a 5th grader, I'm here today to tell you what passing Prop 15 means to me. See, my student attends a public school in Wilmington, California, the heart of the harbor. However, we're not treated like the heart of the harbor. Our schools are definitely underfunded. As a school site council president 5 years running and the vice president for 2 years running, I can't tell you how many meetings I have sat in with parents, with teachers, with principals, while they make the tough decisions of what to fund and what not to fund. And it's not because we don't have the need for those programs, it's because we don't have the money for them. I would like to see Prop 15 passed so that I can sit in those meetings and watch those principals pay for everything they need and some of the things that they want. My student is an IEP holder, so a smaller class size would mean that that teacher could focus more attention on my student and he could be more successful in life. As a parent volunteer, I can't tell you how many times I've been on campus when students have been hurt, when an emergency happens and a nurse is not present. Last year, for example, we have stairs in our school, and we had a student sit on the top of the stairs and fall off onto the concrete ground on a day that the nurse was not present. Lucky for him, we were having a career day, and we had a paramedic and a firefighter on hand. But what would have happened if they hadn't been there? You see, every day that we send our kids to school without the nurse, we take that risk of wondering what is going to happen. And when you attend a school in a community that's surrounded by the refinery, your kids have asthma. And I've seen kids sitting in the office having an asthma attack and wondering, where is the nurse? Why isn't she there? Why can't they help them? See, for myself, passing Prop 15 would mean more nurses on every campus. So like right now, we attend a school on a blacktop. There is no grass, there is not much shade, there's nothing for these kids to play on. Now luckily, we've been blessed enough to have a community garden. But that community garden means that the teachers have to fundraise every single year to keep that garden going. And as a member of the PTO, I'd like to do fundraising for things like shirts, like keychains, not a field trip, not our community garden. See, right now, we have the refinery and we have Phillips 66 that donate to our schools and make sure that our kids go to programs and go to their field trips. But if Prop 15 were to pass, they wouldn't have to donate to just our field trips. They would be able to fund our school counselors, our nurses, the resources that our children need. So join me on November 3rd. I'm voting yes on Prop 15.
Let's give another hand for Alicia! All right, we are going to introduce some students from ACE. Let's give it up for the Soria boys.
Chevron, Disney, and all big companies paid their taxes, our schools will have more programs for special education, students, tutoring, nurses, counselors, and technology for everybody. Please support Prop 15. ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! Can we do it? Yes, we can! Can we do it? Yes, we can! Well, thanks. Okay, I might. I don't know. I'm gonna try to say it in Spanish. So, hola, mi nombre es Gustavo Ángel Osorio. Yo soy un cuarto grado estudiante at Harmony Elementary School. Y si Chevron y Disney y todas las grandes compañías pagan sus taxes, nuestras escuelas pueden tener más programas por especiales, educación, estudiantes, tutoría, enfermeras, consejeros también, y tecnología para todos. Por favor, soporten proposición 15. ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede!